Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Onassis STEGI for Improtech. It's a really great pleasure to have all of you here with us in this event, which we've been looking forward to for almost 2 years now. It's been in the plan. This is part of a long series of events that sort of trace the Onassis STEGI's interest in this field of research and musical practice, starting back in 2012 with an event called Across the Great Divide, which we co-curated with Eric Lewis from McGill, who's here with us this evening as well, following on with the joint ICMC, SMC conference that was held here, co-organized with the National Capodistria University of Athens, Anastasia Yorgaiki, who's also here, who will be speaking shortly, and Improtech Now, as well as, of course, any number of performances over the years that have been practically delving into the implications artistically and technologically of the relationships between digital processing, computational systems, and artistic performance, musical performance. And obviously the themes we're going to be talking about today go to the heart of, today and the next 3 days after today, go to the heart of these issues, which of course are, as George Lewis has written many years ago, as much about musicality and what musicianship is as they are about the technologies, but beyond that, much more than just, in inverted commas, just musical technologies, because these whole processes of emulating credibly human cognitive processes in computational systems reach way beyond the musical domain into areas that affect our lives and will affect our lives increasingly over the coming years. So the implications of what these systems include, what they leave out, how they alter our perception of the world, how they perhaps incite us to shape the world so that they can interact with these computational systems. All these issues, I think, will be expressed here in the field of musical research, but I think the importance and the significance of the way we think about these things goes much beyond music. I'd very much like to thank everyone who's been involved in planning this event. Obviously, Gérard Ressayac, who will shortly come to the podium, Anastasia Yorgaiki, the head of the music department of the University of Athens, my colleagues Cristina Pitulli and Pasqua Voria, who have been in charge of the organization, the production organization, all the technical team here at STEGI, who always do a great job and a particularly complicated and taxing one today, our friends from the teams of the invigilators, everyone involved, and of course for you for taking the trouble to come over here and be a part of this event with us. So I hope we have a fascinating 4 days together. Thank you very much for being with us, and I'd like to invite Gérard Ressayac from Ircam and Marc Chemillier from the Haute École d'Études en Sciences Sociales to come and welcome you as well. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Christos. Good evening, everybody. So I'm so glad to see that you all came tonight, and so many people coming to Improtech. So the idea of Improtech dates back to 2004. I was working at Ircam with my friend Marc Chemillier, and we were designing new software for that would be able to improvise with a musician, especially a software called Omax. We were inspired at this time, I must say, we were greatly inspired by the previous work by George Lewis, who will be giving the keynote. He was the great inspirer for all this, so, and I also want to dedicate this edition of Improtech to him. And we were working at Ircam, and Ircam was a house of composition at the time, not performance, not improvisation. There was performance, of course, but only performance in order to execute the composition. And we had the idea to organize a big workshop, a kind of marathon workshop that was from 12 to midnight. We had Steve Coleman playing, we had Roscoe Mitchell and David Wessel playing, and a lot of marvelous people. It was in the context of sound and music computing, computer music conference, and it was a shock at Ircam because it was the first time. There had been a few experiments with improvisation, but it was not the main thing, and it was the first time that improvisation was really in the foreground. So a few years later, we reiterate this idea of a workshop festival. It was quite later because it was in 2012, that's 8 years later in New York. We called it Improtech. The name came from Mark because he had a grant for research, a research grant called Improtech. We called it Improtech Paris New York. So we had this kind of idea of joining two big cities, two capitals, two cultural capitals, and bring people from France to New York and merge with the cultural scene there, and it was a great edition. Then the next one, so that was 2012, and the next one was not until 2017, it was in Philadelphia 2 years ago, and now we're here in Athens. So as you can see, there is no real logic in time. It's not a regular thing. We do it when we like, when we feel. We do it when we feel. But also we do it when we find great opportunities, and this opportunity was absolutely fantastic. I used to work with Anastasia, who is at the University of Athens. I knew Christos from the workshop of 2012. It was a little bit later, Across the Great Divide. It was a workshop held at Onassis. And Anastasia suggested that we might collaborate, and we met Christos, and he was absolutely fantastic, and he was totally supporting of the initiative, and gave us all the help and the support of the Onassis Center. And we were able to come up with this new edition, Improtech Paris Athena. So Improtech, in a word, is about improvising, human improvising with things like machines, but improvising in a way that the machines are able to exhibit some digital intelligence. That is not just sound effect, but there are algorithms that are able to process things and show up a complex behavior that is stimulating and challenging for the musician. So the musician is interested in this experience. It's not something boring. It's something that is actually stimulating. This is the idea. And then it can be anything. You're going to see concerts, workshops, conferences with a huge diversity of people and of technical setups. So I will leave the word to my friend Mark, if you want to say a few words about the history of Improtech or whatever.
Oh, no, I just want to recall a quotation from Bob Ostertag, who made a very brilliant lecture at the Improtech workshop, the previous one, which was held in Philadelphia. And he said what improvisation means is that humans still need to be there in the production of music. So obviously there are very deep questions related to this quotation, but for the moment I just want to say that we are very glad that all of you humans are there to discuss music and technology.
And I just take the opportunity to give a great thank you to Christos and all his team. I cannot quote everybody. There are too many people who have been of great help, and extremely professional and good people who have helped us to set up this edition. And of course, all the team at the University of Athens, all the team of Anastasia, and all the volunteers, the students and professors at the University of Athens. Thank you.
Thank you, Gérard. Thank you, Marc. There's a long tradition of collaboration between Ircam and Onassis STEGI. We've been working on many projects over the years, and we're partners together in a European network that Onassis is running called Interfaces, which some of you may know. So there's a good history of working together, which we're very happy and proud of. So Anastasia Iorgaiki, the head of the music department of the National and Capodistrian University of Athens, long title, will now say a word of welcome.
So I'm really very happy to be here and to welcome all our friends from the States, from Europe, and from many other places here in Athens to this great event. And first of all, I would like to thank Onassis Foundation, STEGI, and Christos Karas who gave us this opportunity and for this excellent organization. And of course, my friend and researcher, head of the musical representations at Ircam, Gerard Sayag, who had this wonderful idea of improvisation technologies and an idea that brings together researchers, musicians, practitioners, and scholars here in Athens in order to discuss a very neglected art as improvisation. And I say that because at the music departments, and especially musicology department, we never speak about improvisation. And that's the problem. So I would like, first of all, to say that this idea came when I met Gerard last time in Paris, and he was doing Improtech at Philadelphia. He told me to go, but it was really so far and very cold to go there. I'm sorry. So as a musician and musicologist, I told him, why not do it in Athens, as we have a new master's program, jazz improvisation and new technologies, where Dimitri Vasilakis and Adonis Ladopoulos and many other researchers teach. And we use new technologies to augment, if you want, the acoustical sound of the instruments, but also to investigate the music improvisation and maybe give some tools to the students to understand sometimes the improvisation is good or bad. We never know. What's improvisation? We must see what's improvisation. After from my position as head of the Department of Musical Studies, I wanted to tell you that we have 4 sectors. We have historical and systematic musicology, where you know very well that the basis of improvisation comes from the Baroque music, and Bach was improvising. And if you see all this course, it's improvisation. After we have the sector of cultural anthropology and ethnomusicology, where of course we study a lot Persian and Arabo-Persian music, the Greek traditional music, which is very rich in improvisations, and many other cultures. After we have the sector of music education, where they try to do improvisations. Christina Anagnostopoulou with Smarada Chrysostomou, they do a lot of projects on that. And after we have the sector of music technology, and Byzantine musicology, where there is a lot of improvisation. So we are very interested in that, but we never discuss about improvisation at the university. So I found that this is a very good opportunity to see what is improvisation and how AI can help us not only to interact with the system, but understand this richness of improvisations, east and west, north and south. How do people improvise? And saying all that, I would like to tell you that improvisation enjoys the curious distinction of being both the most widely practiced of all musical activities and the least acknowledged and understood. Improvisation is both personal and social, a social practice-based group activity whose lack of coherence between action and dialectics is catastrophic for credibility, but vital to adaptation. So we see that improvisation is something that brings people together, and sometimes they try to say, is it a dialogue or can we reach the dialectics? This is very important to see the dialogue and the dialectics between 2 performers, one from India and the other from Greece. Do they need too much time to improvise together? So if we speak about musicians, let's speak about a musician and the OMAX system, because as you know, there are some systems that have been developed in AI and music. One of the systems is in Georgia Tech, and we have invited them, but the robot needed a seat at the airplane. So it was very difficult because here we speak about bodiless improvisation. And we speak about the robots, they need a seat and they have an hypostasis, if you want. So it's another thing. We are going to discuss all these things about improvisation on Sunday, ethics and aesthetics of improvisation and AI. So robots, or the very nice system that Gerard with his team has created, where you can listen to the improvisation and you can interact with him. And it depends on the culture, the way that you play. Do you play micro intervals? Which is your idiom? So for us, it's very interesting at the music department to understand all this stuff. On the other thing, I would like just to make the reference of my beloved Eric Hobsbawm, who is the one who has spoken a lot about improvisation and social interaction. And I would like just to adapt what he was saying about the music industry and jazz, and say that from the post-modernization of jazz through music industry, we are facing a new era of co-creativity with the machines. So Eric Hobsbawm was speaking about that in the 40s. And imagine what happens in our days, that music technology has advanced so much. And just to finish, I would like to invite you to listen to the Instex improvisers, which are our last cicadas. And if you have a walk around Athens, you're going to listen to the last cicadas, which improvise rhythmically, and they say their last song before dying, and they have really very strange rhythms. So, welcome to Athens.
Thank you, Anastasia. So before moving straight on to the keynote, I'd like to thank the other supporters of the event, the Institut Français d'Athènes, DJazz and Collegio Musicae, for also having helped make this all possible. So, as you know, our keynote this evening, the opening keynote of the event, is by George Lewis. I really don't need to introduce George Lewis, I think, to anyone, so I won't. Safe to say that he has definitely been a person who has created not only a body of work, a body of technology, and a conceptual framework through which we can think in a very broad way. His notion of Afrological, to me personally, was an eye-opener when I first try to understand it and think through it. It's a great pleasure to have him back here with us. He was with us in Across the Great Divide some years ago now. So please welcome George Lewis.